Hello viewers, my name is Adam and this is Sicking Me Productions bring you another video game review. And in this video, I'll be reviewing Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. So Indiana Jones is a major film franchise from Lucas Films, a brainchild from George Lucas, and majority of the 5 film franchise directed by Steven Spielberg. Steven Spielberg, a director that we said in a previous video, our Jaws video, that will be following doing more related media related to Steven Spielberg's works, and this is like somewhat in that field. Indiana Jones is like the second major property from Lucasfilms after Star Wars. Harrison Ford's favorite role, who is also Han Solo in the Star Wars film, but he has a lot more reverence for playing Indiana Jones, the famous archaeological action hero. This is not the first video game that Indiana Jones has had. Basically have playing video games in the 80s and early 90s and some in the 2000s, mainly through LucasArts, when Lucasfilm's major video game the publisher before becoming Lucasfilm Games. Unfortunately, not many as compared to Star Wars. Obviously, that's like being such a big property for Lucasfilms in general. Their brain, but kind of weird how Willow is also put on a short end of stick on that. So maybe a Willow game might be coming out probably soon. Not big of a big property as compared to Star Wars and even like the Indiana Jones. But Indiana Jones, very hard, like very major in the film space, but video games, he's been very influential on that part, mainly because of the fact that 2 major video game franchises like Tomb Raider and then later on Uncharted are highly influenced by Indiana Jones's property, basically doing a blueprint for the action adventure archaeological genre in itself, subgenre in the action field. So Indiana Jones in the Great Circle is developed by Machine Games and published by Bethesda Studios. And this is like taking a different approach to the gaming as opposed to Tomb Raider and Uncharted, which are mainly third-person adventures. Indiana Jones: The Great Circle is majority a first-person perspective video game. And the story takes place directly after the first film, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and the whole point of the game is that for Indiana Jones, he's a part-time college professor in archaeology, and it begins with him waking up after basically the opening sequence in Raiders of the Lost Ark, waking up from that mission that he once had, and upon waking up in this college space, he is a break-in of a major giant unknown figure. This one played by Tony Todd, the late great actor, and Tony Todd's character of Giant Lucas. He steals a cat mummy from the college, and Indiana Jones decides to go after said mummy, a cat mummy. And what he uncovers is that this is connected to a archaeological phenomenon called the Great Circle, which are these major sites all across the world that forms into one giant circle if it's presented on a map, and what mysterious powers that unfold if one were to get these treasures that connected to the Great Circle. Now the story plays out quite traditionally as an Indiana Jones adventure. The globe trotting from multiple countries that are from these major sites that make up the Great Circle, particularly in this game, from Vatican City, Rome, the Himalayas, Shanghai, and whatnot. And like in traditional Indiana Jones fashion, the antagonists are mostly composed of Nazis or any of the Axis powers during World War II. From that's basically Nazi Germany, fascist regime of Italy, and also Japan. Japan is very, very briefly shown as enemy figures in this game. as is mostly flipping between mostly the Nazi Germany and the fascist black shirts in Italy. The main villainous figure, Emmerich Voss, which is a Nazi archaeologist in his own right. Very typical, like nothing groundbreaking in his role. Very typical like Nazi villainy on that front. As far as the actors are concerned, playing the characters, video games leading man, modern leading man of Troy Baker. He provides the motion capture and the voice work for Indiana Jones in this game, doing a very spot on Harrison Ford impression, but you can clearly hear those inflections that Troy Baker will have in his voice for other roles. The leading female actress is played by Alessandra Mastronardi. Sorry if I pronounced that word that name incorrectly or not. She's playing Gina Lombardi, who is a journalist on the search of her whereabouts of her unknown sister, who she's working with the Nazis on behalf of us for particular unknown reasons that you will find out in the game. And like I said, Tony Todd rounds out the cast as Locust, the giant. Like, this is a action, and mostly the story is played out through the cutscenes like a Indiana Jones movie. But you can also, when you're exploring in each of the countries, you'll find these newspapers or military reports that fleshes out the world and some certain details that you'll find across the really more of what the certain type of characters are about when you find these documents. Now for gameplay, like I said, this is a first-person action-adventure title. Very light on the action front, like at least on the traditional sense when it comes to video gaming. They do the first-person perspective quite fairly adequately. It actually flips and changes and switches into a third-person perspective when doing a lot more of the platforming elements on the game that are actually quite standard but are passable. And something you will expect, usually will expect with something like this for an Indiana Jones game. The whip is a major, Indiana Jones' famous whip is a very major gameplay component. Able to stun enemies, grab onto objects, climbing, whatnot, climbing so you can get to more places than other. Also swinging, also adds to the platforming with the whip. One makes great use of that. That you can also upgrade as well of the capabilities and the stamina of what you're able to do with the whip. The combat in the game is actually mostly a hand-to-hand brawler, street brawler style that you will learn to using both the triggers, left and right triggers, depending on what system you're using on, and blocking, and learn to sway and dodge and whatnot. So in addition to the combat, you can use the highlighted items that are found on all throughout the levels, given either debris, the construction objects that are around and that you can find in any type of crevice, as well as the food items that you use to not only build your health and stamina, but you can use them as throwing objects to help stun enemies. This also helps with stealth. The game is actually focused lightly on a lot on the stealth elements of when you're going throughout these major countries and areas that make up the levels. Most of the stealth elements is that it's very important that you find these disguising outfits so you can navigate through different areas more effectively, especially in enemy terrain. This game does have gunplay, but it's not necessarily one favors in that regard. You do have your own standard handgun that Indiana Jones uses, or depending on what type of enemy outfit that you're wearing. but gunplay is slightly, I found it a little bit more discouraging, because as soon as you use your gun, a lot of the enemies are alerted. So it's very wise that you be more specific, be more focused on stealth, as it can be very overwhelming when a bunch of enemies are drawn to your motion. So try and move away and hide if a lot more of you, if you're almost spotted. As far as the AI when it comes to like your other NPCs, like Regina as a character, is a little bit distracting, because because it deals mostly on stealth. Trying to navigate with her or other characters can be getting in the way of that, so it can be even easier for enemies to know, like basically ruin your stealth. And when I said the game is a little bit light on action because it's the focus on stealth, like the films, as we know, are known for these very big elaborate action set pieces. And I find over the course of playing this game, a lot of the action set pieces are mostly in the third act of this title. You're actually mostly composed of puzzle solving in this game, with these very elaborate tombs and tombs areas that you are unlocking areas, playing little games that open up these navigational areas in these hidden passageways. They are quite intriguing and fun, and these also a lot of these puzzle solvings are help you get these collectibles that utilizes some very intuition and following up on these documents that you do find that will give you money, currency, depending on, so you can buy more of these documents that upgrade your abilities, whether it be stealth, stamina, which is something that you have to pay attention on, because Indiana Jones, he's just a regular man, so he can get tired through doing platforming and even fighting. So mitigating your stamina is important, that you can upgrade, especially of your health. It's just a shame that I wish that more of those bigger set pieces were spread a lot more across the game, and the fact that these are a linear style game and each country makes it their own area. I feel as though a major set piece should take place at the end of each match, instead of just holding off until the majority of when the story is at its crescendo, at least, if you will. And also for navigation, you're mostly walking or walking through your area, and it's only in one level where you actually get a vehicle to help move or navigate around the environment, because despite this being a linear style game, each level is open enough to have its own side missions as well, and areas to find these collectibles. And it can get and the game we welcomes exploration, but there are plenty of times where I wish I was able to have a car, especially in the Giza desert area, or even or a motorcycle of some sort, because it's kind of weird, because it can get very taxing when you have to go. There are little posted areas on the map that you can fast travel to, but it's very far distance in between them as well. So navigation, mostly don't walk in, and some of the platforming is mostly what you're doing with movement wise. For presentation, I find the graphics a bit, they are passable, especially for a game like this in this modern era. They're not necessarily going a little bit as realistic as some more of our AAA style games. I think this is more of a AA game, if I might want to be more honest, especially with the limitations that are that are set within the gameplay parameters. But they are stylized enough and has strong art direction that helps balance out the limitations on this graphical capacity. Though, with these limitations on playing this on the PlayStation after the Xbox exclusive release. I don't know if most people probably had this, but I did have fair share of glitches from the NPCs and also environments around you that were quite prevalent in areas. Not they are noticeable that I found, but it wasn't distracting too much that it point that I was able to finish the game. But they're spread enough across each level that they are there. Plenty of collectibles, most certainly treasures, or like the documents that help add in the story. The treasures are spread into either very specific cultural treasures that you find, not like, but they're not as many as like the ancient artifact that is like this long tube thing. At first, I thought the ancient artifacts that are very prevalent in each of the country that you explore, and they just like this random generic item. But there is if you collect all of them in the game, you do get something of a surprise of its own significant mystery. So it's very beneficial that you get those as well. That's the payoff is in the last mission, so be on the lookout for that. But as the first major modern Indiana Jones game, it's good. Very entertaining. The story, very standard, what you expect from an Indiana Jones like film. Just plays out just very much more longly extended. It's appropriately paced, but I did wish that a lot of the action was more spread across as opposed to having most of those playable set pieces at the third act. And they were very quick when they happened. But if I'm welcome for a sequel, if it happens, and take more inspirations from the games that actually inspired that were inspired by the Indiana Jones games, like in Uncharted and Tomb Raider, to level up so it can be on par with those titles as well. But a very decent start. My name is Adam, and this has been Seeking Me Productions and a video game review for Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Be sure to like, share, subscribe. We are close to 1,000 subscribers, so it'll be very beneficial to join in and be on alert for more content that we post on this channel. We also discuss other media on our social media outlets of Letterboxd, Threads, and Instagram for more related discussions. See you later, and check us out next time.